I I mentioned before about something I can't get away from when it comes to struggling with stuff is that verse in Hebrews 4, I think. For we don't have a high priest who's untouched by our weakness, our humanity, our infirmity, whatever, however you want to say it. I think that was the only one I didn't look up. uh, but for the last few days especially, it feels like God has been, you know how when you got a dirty rag, you dump it in water and then you wring it out real good and get that stuff out? Feels like that's what's been going on. And it has not been pleasant. You know, when I first moved here, I'd be all over those prayer lines, and I used to just really respect how guys like Dave and Gary could get their healing and get their stuff from God, correction, all that stuff. I used to think when I got to that place I would have arrived. I've been there for a while now, haven't arrived. But I used to think, how awesome would that be to be able to not only go to God for healing and wisdom for myself, but go to Him for other people, to be on that wavelength. And now it doesn't pan out quite the way I thought it would at all. When I think about it, looking at Dave and at Gary and at those guys, I could look at them from where I was and think it was all just so glorious and happy and gumdrops and roses and birds singing all the time. You know, it's not. I just it's not. It comes down to those decisions where we can pick God or where we can pick ourselves. That's how we start emptying ourselves out. If we want more of God, there's a displacement involved, and that usually comes out of out of our soul, but our emotions for sure. Man, well, God, thank you for everything you are, and for keeping my mind focused on this, and for keeping me collected. Thank you for your strength. Man, like I said, give me a minute. I'm a little rusty and you ever notice the more stuff that you care about, you personally, separate from God, that it gets that much harder to hear God? You know, like you see this good friend just take a stumble in their walk with God, and you care so much about him, but there's so much emotional care too. And you keep asking God, what can I say to this person? How can I reach them? What can I say? How come I can't hear you? What's going on? Am I hearing this? Is this you? Is this you? Is this you? You ever notice that? It comes down to us caring more about other things in the name of God than caring about things with God. What if He tells you not to say anything to that person? How are you going to be able to hear it if you're so focused on saying something to that person? Because all you want to do is just help them out. I've been, for a while there, Luke seemed like a good one to read, to brush up on my inner Jesus picture, you know. So I listened to it when I was at work, went through it a couple times, and to be honest, I kind of prefer Mark because he's a lot more terse, and John just because he's so much more abstract, and Luke and Matthew are kind of verbose, but Luke's got that nice Gentile perspective, and I read in Matthew 6. I took that one and buried it inside of me about not taking any thought for tomorrow. And then I found it in Luke's gospel, and Luke 12:25. And honestly, we're focused on these. Read the whole chapter, read the whole book, whatever. Just I'm not skipping context. All right. Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? If then you're not able to do the least, such as get taller, why are you anxious for the rest? And don't seek what you should eat or drink, nor have an anxious mind. There's been some answers I've been trying to get from God for a good long while, several months now. And I feel like I'm getting closer, and at the same time, I feel like He's waiting for me to get rid of some stuff for these answers, because I don't like to ask easy questions, you know. I'll ask God these questions, and I can't even handle the answer. So I've been asking God the same couple questions too. Well, asking God for answers to the same couple questions, stuff that I just couldn't handle. God had bring me so far, and all right, I have arrived. What's the answer, God? Silence. Then finally get tired of the silence, start digging back in, get a little bit more, and I'd stop, let it settle. Like, all right, I have arrived. What's the answer, God? I've been doing that for months, man. Like 9 months, maybe. I don't even know now. And He just waits for me. I'll ask these questions and then start trying to play super sleuth, you know, put all these previous answers together. What I know about God, this I think He would do this, but he's done this before, and He's known to do this, and He's kind of prone to that kind of attitude of that, you know, just trying to go out ahead of God and find answers. You never get the right ones, and feels like lately I just tried to really punch in, and then I got way more than I bargained for. That ever happened to you? And so I've just been choking on it the last few days. I feel like there's just this pressure on me, and I try to hide behind listening to the Bible, try to hide behind reading the Bible, try to hide behind listening to messages from the church, hide behind music by Christian artists, not Christian music. And yesterday I just kind of, I got tired of hiding. And it was before church. I like to show up early and just kind of just pray. Just spend a little bit of time with God, get my mind going down that path. Just spend some time with Him there. So I did. And then it was like I caught a glimpse of Him in the silence. And it's like spiritually, I just started walking towards Him the best I could, praying, shutting myself up, trying not to hide behind stuff no matter how awkward or uncomfortable I felt, which usually I don't. Usually I enjoy silence, a fair amount of it. And then this morning, yesterday, I was tasked with this job where usually I just wear headphones the whole day. I started, and God was like, hey, you're wasting your time if you want to hear from me. So of course I wasted my time for a few minutes just trying to listen to some music, and that just didn't settle right within me. There was no peace about it. It just wasn't there. Tried listening to 1 Corinthians, same thing. So I tried just leaving my headphones in, not playing anything. Then that ended up just bothering me. So I took them out, put them back in my pocket, and just started praying in tongues for a few hours. And then this morning, same thing. I was all ready to listen to headphones, man, and just, because it's just easier to get lost in music and then just have your own thoughts, and then you got the music drowning out all the other stuff, Wasn't the case again today. God told me I'd be wasting my time, and I learned my lesson from the day before. So I just started doing my thing in silence, and usually in the morning I'm one of the more boisterous people. I took a vacation a while just here recently. That was why we messed up the schedule, because my mom was in town, and yesterday when I was leaving, I was asking one of the guys there just to see. It's like, hey, how much different is the feel of the team in the morning when I'm not there? He's like, well, we were happier. I had that one coming. But then he was like, no, dude, it was actually pretty quiet. It was weird. We ended up just rabble rousing, just a few of us here, and it just wasn't the same. So it was nice to know I was kind of missed. But today, I feel like I've been able to hide from myself for 3 days now. And so I go take my break. I'm just sitting there. It's not even any fun to play games or anything on my phone. Usually, if it comes down to the absolute like just last act of desperation. I just sit there and play solitaire for 15 minutes. And today there was just no life in it. It was like a steak that didn't have salt. It's just, it was good, but it's ugh. So I, when I first started, I I wrote a lot to God, helped keep my thoughts cohesive, and it was just good reference, and it fit for me. And I just felt like I was so all over the board from not getting answers and feeling like I was just like God told me about stuff that was coming, and I just wasn't feeling prepared. And I don't want to be unprepared, but I don't want to tie God's hands. You know what I'm saying? So I just started writing again, and I'm just sitting in this cafe, and these people are all coming in for breakfast and stuff, and I start to lose it. I was like, oh man. So I walk up to the office, trying to walking a little slow, had my hat turned around, just facing down, trying to collect myself before I make it up to the boss. Make it up there, and I was trying to keep him from turning around, so I was asking real quick. I was like, hey, dude, I need some more time, man. Can I just clock out, go sit in my car for a while? And he's cool about it. He's cool. He gives me a lot of jurisdiction. But of course, he turned around, saw my puffy eyes. So I knew that was going to be a conversation later, and it was. And so I just go sit in the car, man. Pull up what I was writing to God. Just lost it. But I found the end of myself. God help me. 2 Peter chapter 5, 6 through 11. Therefore, humble yourselves. I was humbled. Find the end of yourself, man. There ain't nowhere to go. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Casting all your care on him, for he cares for you. We're not going to make it all the way to 11. I couldn't hear God this whole time. Because I didn't have any peace. So anxious about whether or not it was God. I don't know. If you haven't noticed, this one's for me, so thanks for tagging along. I couldn't hear God because I was so scared that what I was hearing was Him. How do you deal with that? Really, what matters more than God? What's going to be the same? I remember a while back, a long time ago actually, still living in Washington, told God I wanted all of it. Don't hold me back. Told him if I got to deal with something first, pave the way for other people. Then I do it, no matter what. So, 2 Corinthians 1. I'm alright. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies, and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our tribulations, that we may be able to comfort those who are in any trouble, with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. Second Corinthians 4:16. Therefore, I'm coming back. Therefore, we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. But we don't look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. The things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. And then, of course, Philippians 4, you can't get away from that one. Be anxious for nothing. And he talks about making requests. I have more in there. throw you guys off. I started quoting too much the Bible, chapter and verse though. Huh? Can't get away from it. There is a division coming. No matter how deep somebody sticks their head in the sand, when they pull it out, they're going to be on the wrong side of the line. Can you imagine how many times you'd really be able to come through for somebody with God if you weren't concerned about God letting you fall on your face? Being wrong, I guess that's the same thing. Just being self-conscious, not being received respectfully, courteously. You know, one in Luke, one story that cracked me up was, Jesus was just going around doing his thing. Coming back and just teaching, preaching, miracles, all that business. And then these Pharisees, this one's like, hey, you gotta come over and have dinner. So they sit down. I should look this one up. I want to say it's the one with where they're sitting there, and then that chick comes in and starts bawling all over his feet and washing his feet with her hair. Maybe not. I just told you, dude, I'm a little rusty, and now I'm a ways out there, so I'm still coming back. Give me some slack here. And Jesus, he's just chilling with these Pharisees. I'm going to see if I can stall and pull it up real quick. And he's chilling with the Pharisees in his house. And let's see. Luke. Looks like Luke 7. Yeah, that's it. 7:36. Let's go ahead and read it. And then one of the Pharisees asked him to eat with him, and he went to the Pharisee's house and sat down to eat. And behold, the woman in the city who was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus sat at the table in the Pharisee's house, brought in an alabaster flask of fragrant oil and stood at his feet behind him, weeping. And she began to wash his feet with her tears and wiped them with the hair of her head. And she kissed his feet and anointed them with the fragrant oil. Now, when the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he spoke to himself, saying, this man, if he were a prophet, he'd know who and what manner of woman this is who's touching him, for she's a sinner. Now, it didn't take long for Jesus to catch on. Hey, Simon, I got something to say to you. So the Pharisee's like, all right, well, say on. So Jesus like, well, there's a certain creditor who had two debtors. One owed 500 denarii and the other 50. When he had nothing with which to repay, he freely forgave them both. When they had nothing with which to repay, tell me therefore, which of them will love him more? And Simon said, well, I suppose the one whom you forgave more. Right, no, maybe that's not it. Anyway, sorry. I wanted to be prepared next time. This one, all I knew is where I was starting, that I was probably going to lose it. So, I appreciate your grace during this trying time. But he's sitting with the Pharisees, man. He's just doing his thing, being Jesus, and talking about the kingdom of heaven. And then one of the Pharisees is like, blessed are all who enter the kingdom of heaven. And then Jesus starts in on another parable. And that one escapes me too. Like I said, dude, I just kind of, I just felt like emotional, intellectual purgatory, dude. So I apologize for the rust. So Jesus goes off on this parable, basically calling this guy out for thinking he's the creme de la creme. He's all up in there with Jesus and God. Jesus tells his story and calls him right out on it. I'll find it. We'll get there. We're all getting there. And you know, Jesus never had to stop and be like, God, I think they're going to stone me, but it's a very concerning thing. What do you want me to say? Because I don't know if I should say that, because they got rocks in their hands. They're eyeballing me. They got the evil eye. That stuff never stopped Jesus, man. Ever. And look what he did. And same with Paul. He didn't quite attain to the same height. He's one of the closer ones. I think we can agree on that. And Paul wasn't, or Jesus, man. Jesus would put himself in line to get stoned, to get ridiculed and mocked, and he knew he was setting himself up for it. But he knew he had God on his side. He knew he could hear God. And he knew that he wanted God more than he wanted these people's respect and attention. And you can see, like with Paul, man, I love that one situation. You could see he always put his body out there for the gospel's sake. He seemed like one of the most gracious people. But he never compromised anything spiritual. And he wasn't afraid to call people out. Like when he was getting detained, and then the high priest ordered one of the soldiers to smack Paul in the mouth. And then Paul he gets fired up. Love that story, man. He's like, you whitewashed tombstone, which don't mean much to us, the Jews. That's uncool. You're a teacher of the law, and you, contrary to the law, order me to be struck? And then all these people around there are like, you talk to the high priest that way? And he's like, hey, my bad. What do we have to be so afraid of? You know, if God's not God, then we're all doing something wrong. And if he is God, then it ain't going to take long for us to figure out where we need to start picking up some slack, just in our own lives. If you think he hasn't been running me through the ringer, man, just excreting filth out of my soul. That's what's been going on. I was trying to get it out of the way before I got up on here, and we saw how that went down. But really, man, we gotta evaluate how much stock we put in people. What do we want from them? Well, I got a new chair too. I can slide around now. So, yeah. What do we really want from people? Is their approval that important? Because they're not going to be the same in a week or a month or a year. Not the exact same. Not like God. Not to the point where he's so full of grace and peace and love and forgiveness and patience and tolerance of our ignorance as we're learning about this stuff. God's always going to have more than enough of that. And I'd love to get there. And some of this purging, some of that's what's been going on. It's about having strength for others. Kind of like what I talked about Dave and Gary having, and how cool I thought it would be to get that. And now I'm getting it, and it's nothing like I thought it would look. Yeah. Don't get too caught up in a romanticized gospel, because that's only going to slow you down. You can see how Jesus was on the cross, man. That's yeah, just a big old hunk of meat. How separated from our own emotions can we be? How much help can we give somebody else when we're still trying to get help ourselves? Even if we know how to get it from God, if we're still trying to get it ourselves, if we don't have the strength to be pillars for these other people, especially the people that don't know as much as us. Where do we think revival is going to come from? You think Dave's going to be the MC and the ringleader, and guys like Gary and Tim and Jim Martin, they're just going to have these little side shows, and it's just going to be cool, some big tourist thing? You have not spent enough time with God if you're not picturing yourself in it. And if that's the case, you ain't even going to be there when revival comes. So, got to be honest with ourselves and really take stock, man. What are we scared of? Does God not have our back? Well, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm not hearing God? Is God not right back there when you quit being able to hear him? Are you out of his reach so far that you can't even try? Man. It's about people, but it's about God first. And then bringing God to these people. It's not about getting something from God and then taking it and running with it and be like, God, look how far I'm going on my own strength, and then you just kind of crap out, and then you're like, well, what happened? I had this from God. And then finally you stop, and then God catches up at his own pace, and then he's like, hey, what'd you expect to happen? Like I said, man, this one was for me. So I appreciate you all tagging along. no matter how strongly we feel about God's love and ignore God's judgment, division's coming. This is still a good solid time for fasting. It's a good time to get ahead of what's coming. If you want to get ahead of it, we'll find out when the time comes who put the effort in and who was just in it for the show. You know what I'm saying? That day, it'll be a good day for some of us. Hopefully, more of us than not. These people, man. Especially the ones that say they know God and don't. Then teach other people to know God, to know what they perceive to be God, to believe what they think is God. Those people get first shot at correction, especially the ones with a pure heart. It's their choice what they do with it. Their work's going to be as evident as ours. It doesn't mean we have any right to be scared, alone, afraid. Insecure, anxious, all that stuff, man. That is stemming from roots that are not grounded in God. May as well tell it like it is if we expect to get anywhere. That's one thing that I did love about Paul and about Jesus. They told people the truth. For a long time, I wanted to be bold with truth, but I didn't know how. So I just got so tired of riding the fence about it and not knowing how, I just kind of went for it, man. Came across like an absolute jerk. You know, it was me and some people I used to be close with at the church, at the press center. There'd be some other ministers outside of the core group, you know, extracurricular, that we'd listen to. And then we just we'd get together and talk about it. We'd have time between services in the morning and just chat, catch up. And so we'd do that. We'd chat. We would discuss things we've heard from other people that have been on TV, like their kind of teachings, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, it just kind of got stupid to the point where, because we had time between services, so we'd all just get in the car, run to this. It's like the seventh heaven of gas stations, Quick Trip convenience store, and coming to the end of yourself takes it out of you. But we just chat on the drive there, drive back, and then just have a few extra minutes to hang out. It got to the point where some of these messages that we'd listen to, just like well, that we all knew we would all catch up on, where I would just sit down in the car, like, well, listen to this thing. I wish I had that hour back because I completely wasted it. Then I got politely, religiously corrected. Started saying it more because I couldn't get away from it. It was, you know, despite everybody else, everything else, what I want at the end of the day, at the end of my life, is a heart that God can look at and be like, that I was able to operate. I had something to work with in that heart, and I had room to play. That's what I want, man. I'm getting there. Everybody is. We all are. But as you can tell, if I have not exemplified it enough, it ain't always comfortable. There's been a lot of times where I knew something was on my heart. Best I could tell it was God. And so I would just let it go, man, right out my mouth. And I was promptly and swiftly corrected by church people that knew better because they were older. Because they started praying before I did. Didn't say they prayed more than I did. I said they started before I did. And, you know, times like that, you got bittersweet feelings about being vindicated. Because it's nice to know you were right, but it hurts to see these people you used to be so close with just start falling apart. That's when it's important to learn how to get consolation from God, how to have God be your therapist and your counselor and your rock. We start making a habit out of that. We start being able to pay that consolation forward. Because if we took a step forward, somebody else took a step right where we used to be. And we can look back and go, hey, I remember that. Here's what kind of sucks about that step. And this is cool. This is cool. Watch out for this. And it gets better. But a lot of us, biggest thing right now, man, is just going straight at God. And it seems like just about everything's going to get in the way. People, acquaintances, strangers, friends, family, people that feel like family, circumstances. Man, all we can do, it's about our heart with God. Anybody gets in the way of my heart with God, gets in the way of my time with God, tries to interfere with that, there will be it won't be good. And not because it's me. Not at all because it's me. May as well be you or Dave, Gary, anybody else, man, just trying to make the best beeline they can towards God. God's got something to say to people that get in the way of that. Take heart. Our, man. I keep just kind of skimming over the mindset of eternity. Just kind of glossing over it. I was at work one day and my hair started getting shaggy. I just like keeping it short. Low maintenance, that's what I'm about. And I was at work. And I just readjust my hat, and just a little bit, something like that. I was like, man, I'm getting tired of shaving my head. I thought, well, I'm gonna do it for like another 60 years. And I realized that's my whole time here. And I realized just how much investing in that kind of thinking has paid off. Heaven is becoming my home. I used to, man, when I first moved here, I was just so green. And I'd hear Dave talk about heaven and about God and about angels and about the Holy Spirit and about demons and about the devil. I was like, man, where is he getting all of this stuff? And how do I get it? So I started praying. I haven't stopped. Now, I told you I was binging on his old stuff. Some of it were series that I hadn't gone through before. Ever. And in one of them, he was talking about heaven. And it was just like how God had shown me. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And again, ain't because it's me. Man, I would love to share this kind of platform with other people. I would love for more and more people to get on the same page here and to just take this and just go nuts with it. Just to find God, man. Just put a death grip on everything they know him to be and just go to town. How awesome would that be? We're getting there. We're getting there. People are going to start seeing this light, seeing this truth in ways that it was never conveyed to them before. They're going to start coming out of the woodwork. Because they were like, I got stuck with this Christian crap when I was a kid, but they did not talk like this. What's different? Truth has its own way of making things unique. Yeah. Thanks for tagging along. I'll be a little more collected next time. I certainly hope. If not, then I did not do nearly as much as I should have in between. Anyway, love you guys, and peace.